Hey everyone, welcome to Lubrication Experts. Obviously, for people familiar with the podcast, you know what the deal is. Today, I'm joined by some of the members of one of BHP's reliability engineering teams. So we've got Burcin and Assafi with me today, and we might have some people join mid-podcast. We'll see how that goes. They're going to sort of talk a little bit about reliability, lubrication, asset management, within the mining industry, obviously without getting into too much specific detail. So just to jump really straight in, I think it would be helpful to sort of get a bit of context on the mining industry in general. Everyone has had, let's say, a pretty rough 24 months. I think it doesn't matter where in the world you are or what industry you've been in, the last 24 months has been pretty crazy. But in particular, a lot of the noise or the news around the mining industry has been like this roller coaster of commodity price fluctuations, shipping issues, geopolitical tensions, both globally as well as in our own region, right? So just to get a feel for how the mining industry is doing, are things starting to return to normal, or is it still crazy?
Hi, thank you so much for inviting us, and it's great that in engineering conversations in industries is evolving today. So that's great. Thank you for that. So yeah, I'm working for BHP as a superintendent reliability program in operation services. Yeah, you are right. Look, in the mining industry is currently a reasonably solid player in the world economy, if you like. When you see the trends in business movements are all about the pre-pandemic levels till end of last year. And yet most of them are rather increasing. In accordance with the global data records, you might have seen on the news, have a look at the hiring rates in mining. New business startups and project stock prices are recovering. And it all shows that mining is one of the industries, the minor impacts for COVID-19 recovery in comparison to all other sectors, to be honest. So that's what's happening in mining. And this has been a steep learning curve for all of us to understand the expectations from governments, business, individuals. But my view, mining industry has shown the adaptability and resilience and compassion through its response to the pandemic already, and reorganizing the volumes. It must come from the diversity of the commodities. That's the benefit, that you have the options available, and it has to continue regardless of any other industries. The starting point, one of the first engineering in the history, and the stock prices even did increased approximately 32% increased in all sectors in average, and 17.4% higher hiring levels in recruitment as well. So I must say, we were in the strong space compared to any other industries, and then it's getting better. And I just think it's because of the level of the capital world and why it has to be done that way. That risk management was already in place because of safety reasons and other things. More resilient, and it's going in the positive direction, I think.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it's one of the pleasures of my job, I guess, is I get to talk to people across so many different industries. I guess in Australia in particular, mining is it's kind of like top of the tree when it comes to its capacity for investment, but even like you were talking a little bit about acquisition of talent too. When you said hiring is up by 17%. Mining has always been like a very big draw for engineers, as tradespeople, all that kind of stuff. And it's often interesting to see the trickle down effect of that too, right? Because those people come from somewhere, and often it's other industries. So really interesting to see the kind of like the recovery and even the way that the mining industry was able to continue on, through the pandemic, despite, certainly in Australia, not only the turning off the tap of foreign arrivals, but also domestic travel was quite restricted as well. So thanks for that kind of high level overview. Maybe that where I'd like to get to here is, mining, and especially the larger miners, the likes of yourselves and Rio Tintos and Glencores and things like that, it's very capital intensive, and a lot of the big equipment, I guess, in a crude way, is very expensive, and therefore, it seems like you guys place a very high premium on being able to maintain those assets, maybe more so than we see in other industries. So, with that view, where is a lot of the focus at the moment? Is it on getting the fundamentals right, or is it on digitizing assets? Is it where are you guys kind of spending or where do you see people spending a lot of their time?
I agree with Burcin on the first one. Mining wasn't really much impacted with COVID, and we had really quick recovery because of the assets, especially companies with diverse commodities. They had a really V-curve recovery, and we are, I think, in a better place than we were, and with the new normal. And it's going good. It's going good so far, which is good. But in regards to the second question, where our focus is, in the past few years, I think we had a big shift from just fixing forever to fix forever, and basically we're going through this shift through the use of big data, and especially in maintenance. There's a big focus now in the past few years, making decisions, going through everything we do is basically, there's a big motivation, there's a big push to be data based, to be data supported. And this gives us that that privilege to be able to use that assets that we have. And you're true, it is capital intensive. Everything we have on my side is super expensive and super large. So using the data and the good, I believe, reliability engineering, good teams we work together, and to be able to make the most out of it. So the more available we can make the equipment, the more we can use them, the more we can make the most out of them. So I think in the past years, as I said, that the focus is really on using data to be able to make the most out of these assets, to be able to use them as much as we can.
I agree. You're right. So big data for sure is key for us. And because we are immature in a way in terms of technology applications, considering manufacturing and all other industries, they are in the short-term phase and we are in the long-term business. We are a little bit slow compared to others, I think, and we are getting there now, and we do see the benefit already. The other things that I must say that definitely will be in artificial intelligence, automation, robotics, digitalization, electrification, and more into to understand the machine learning activities to predict the future, like using the sensors, like Assafi was saying, understand the real-time concerns and respond to situations before it happens. But traditionally, we used to understand the root cause for the things already happen, and the engineering wasn't really key before. So nowadays, you don't have any other choice. Engineering will deliver the outcomes for us because it's all knowledge-driven. And reliability will sort of manage the initial aspects of it. So we will be able to create that holistic view to see where are the gaps, which tools and system will help us to maintain that granular contextual way of explaining the issue to the wider businesses. So that's exciting times. I'm very happy to see that change.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I wouldn't mind picking up on there, and the first being relating it back to what we talked about with talent acquisition, right?
Yes.
So big data kind of requires maybe a little bit of a different skill set than
Yes.
traditionally what we've had in the past. So how do you see the industry kind of tackling that? Is it that we're bringing on talent from, let's say, adjacent industries that have big data experience? Or is it more of a matter of taking your current, existing crop of engineers who understand the machinery and reliability environment and giving them data skills?
It's a bit of both, because the current population, current technical knowledge, and how many people we have will not be enough. That's why you will see most of the companies already highlighting the benefits of inclusion and diversity. So it's not so much, to be quite honest, as a woman, it's not so much because they like women and they did have the pity to support them moving forward. It was more like we have to do that way. Like for business profit wise, workforce has to be there, not only the physical asset management or the technical management anymore. So we need those people, and sometimes people do have misunderstand misunderstand why we have automation in place, which means we are going to need less people. No, we will need more people with different skill sets. So then the mechanical engineering, reliability engineering role will be called maybe application engineering, and it will be combined with data scientists and data analysts or health specialists. But you are right. So there will be new roles, new skill sets, and we need to get ready. So that's certainly something that we need to take into account, and it will start with inclusion and diversity. I think to be able to manage that demand coming.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective on. So on a previous episode of this podcast, we actually talked to a HR specialist out of the UK, a company called ABN Resources, and he spoke a little bit to the business benefits of diversity and sort of inclusion drivers within the industry, and just saying, look, the reality is that we need more people with more diverse skill sets, and so that's really interesting to hear that message resonates in the industry as well. Maybe just to pivot a little bit and talk a bit more in specifics about lubricants and lubrication, just to tie it to that sort of big data aspect. Traditional condition monitoring of lubricants has been, you take oil analysis, you get the reports back, you read the reports, and then you take action on that basis. Versus maybe I think some of the approaches that I'm starting to see a little bit more of is to incorporate all of those results into, let's say, either a data lake or a warehouse, or whatever your chosen structure is, and try to incorporate that into a sort of a wider context where it can then, let's say, spit out insights, and you can use those to inform maintenance and reliability practices. Is that kind of the step that the industry is at now? And what kind of insights do you feel are being sort of generated from that?
I think in mining, so oil analysis is also one source of data, and so we have a lot of sources of data. I think, especially in the mining industry, there are lots of, as Burcin mentioned, there's a big investment on like all the sensors, all the things that we can get data from. But to me, the main thing is not just getting the data. Is like you can have a mountain of data, but if you can't really analyze it, if you can't really look into it, what's the point of having all that data? And as you mentioned, sometimes people just look into, oh, is it red? So we need to do something. But they're not actually reading that data. In mining industry, I've been here for like 4 years, and I'm seeing that we are actually starting to make the most out of these lubricants, the most out of these oil analysis, the more understanding what the additives are, what role they play. When there's a change in one of the additives, when there's a change in the characteristics of the oil, what does this mean? So we can shift so I think, to me, lubricants or oil analysis is one of the main things engineers can use to shift the equipment to being more proactive, rather than waiting for something to fail and then we replace it. So basically, from oil analysis or from the lubricants, the type of lubricant we use and the way we analyze it, we can really make it if we make the most out of it, if we are able to get the most data out of that lubricants, we will be able to move the machines to more proactive. So we can fix something before they fail. So we can make the most out of it. Yeah, and I think there's a big focus on special oil analysis, especially big companies. There are new roles now being advertised, and their job is just to read oil. And yeah, so just a few days back, I was looking at one of the roles, and so the role is only analysis, lubricant analysis, lubricant specialist. So they just do the lubricant analysis for across multiple sites in one company. So it is good to see that shift. Actually, we're using the data, not just having it. All this time we were having it, but now we're actually making the most out of it.
Yeah, that's really encouraging to hear. And maybe just asking here for maybe a little bit of a personal opinion, I guess. how do you guys feel about the level of knowledge that's available? And maybe some context for this question, right, is that the lubricants industry itself, and this is something we've talked about on this podcast, has suffered from a pretty big brain drain over the last 5 to 10 years. A lot of the majors are, for example, dismantling technical teams, getting rid of their engineering services divisions. And there's really, and a lot of people, we had, let's say, a demographic that was heavily weighted towards engineers that were close to retirement age. And COVID was, in many cases, the thing that pushed a lot of those people into retirement, either by choice or not. So within the lubricants industry, we are struggling to find people that understand lubricants. So it then, our kind of expectation was that industry, being one step even further removed from that industry, would have great difficulty in finding people that understand, the finer details of lubricant testing and chemistry and things like that. In your experience, generally across the industry, what's your experience of that knowledge level been?
Yeah, I'll just say a small, short answer, and then Burcin can build up on that. I think the skill shortage is not just across oil and gas industry, but it's across all industries. We have this shortage, and it's globally. Like, I have my family in all over the world. They work, and they all are suffering from the same thing. And I think that the plan or the thing that big companies need to do is, COVID was a good chance to show the companies that flexible work and working online is fine, and it can happen. It's fine. And once the companies believe in this, they can use employees from all over the world. So if you want an engineer that knows lubricants, they don't have to be in the country. They can be anywhere in the world. You can use them. They can work remotely online. You can just use their knowledge, and this COVID was really good period to show the companies that it is possible, and then we need to step quicker towards that. And this skill shortage, I think, will make us even move quicker towards that remote employees, or outsourcing it to different companies.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I agree 100%. Definitely, there is a gap in the skills and training, and it is because I didn't think we were prioritizing as such the impact on lubricants. When I do, based on my experience, there's nothing specific here. I think it's more than 40% of the time you will decrease the maintenance cost if you keep an eye on your lubricants, even in mining industry, in mobile equipment space. And this is based on the number of issues and chronic events we are looking and trying to deep dive into the grease and lubricants, the quality level, and in terms of safety as well. Like, many of the dangers associated with mining stem from interactions between people and machinery. Choosing a lubricant that reduces maintenance requirements and breakdowns will mean the employees spend less time in potentially dangerous situations, like risky situations at the plant or workshop. A lubricant with longer drain and lubrication intervals can also help to reduce the risk to staff by lowering the number of times they need to carry out those maintenance tasks. So regardless of today's condition, as I said, this is a must now, not only in mining and oil and gas. So we definitely get ready for the impact, because it's going to be a concern considering all the robotics and autonomy, artificial intelligence, database decision making. We have to develop ourselves in this space and make sure people dedicated to these roles understand these requirements and the lubricants quality and importance in Greece, of course, relevant to the conversations. But I'm not sure we are there yet. So these conversations will help us to educate and trigger the businesses more, and people will be more interested in. And then I think we will then get the buy-in from the leadership teams to keep an eye on it and support more.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And just as we start to close out here, I always like to sort of finish off with a bit of a look into the crystal ball, look into the future. This is obviously where we get into wild speculation, but within the mining industry specifically, if you could kind of look 10 years into the future, where do you see the future of, let's say, like reliability and asset management, lubrication, condition monitoring? We sort of said that at the moment we're going through a bit of a step change when it comes to data, collection of data, using it to inform insights. And what do you see as being sort of maybe like the next step change that you would like to see, 10 years into the future?
We have discussions with Burcin sometimes about that. She would be a better person to ask, actually, but I'll give you a small, like, what I think would be like. To me, I think, when I close my eyes, think about 10 years into future, I see like a mine site, it's a no human zone. So humans wouldn't be working anymore in the pits or in a mine. It will be very minor. People might be working there to just adjust some things. In 10 years, probably in 20 years, we wouldn't even have that small number of people in there. And I think, machines with the 5G technology we have, with all the advanced communication we have, machines will be able to actually speak with one another. So, production-wise, we are seeing a lot of autonomous trucks, and in 1-2 years probably, we have the technology, but I hadn't seen it yet. Our diggers will probably be autonomous too, and then all our machinery will be autonomous. So this is production-wise, and when we come to maintenance-wise, our machines are getting really smart. So from the data we are getting from machines, we can actually get a lot out of them to see what's wrong. And if we move with this pace, and I'm sure there are lots of technologies which we are not aware of yet, and if we move in this pace, even maintenance wouldn't be an issue. Finding the defect, fixing the defect wouldn't be an issue. So we wouldn't need humans to be there. And this is great, I think. Well, this will help us a lot. Like once we can get all this right, I think in 10 years, it will be super safe place. So everyone will be like, they can work remotely from like the different places. They can work from Brisbane while controlling all the equipment there. I don't have to be on site. I can just from my computer look at the data, send it to Burcin. Burcin can just process. So I think the future is really just no humans on, and everything will be automated. And from the data remotely, we will be controlling everything in a mine site.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So yeah, we do always chat about this. What's going to happen in the future? Are we going to run into the metaverse environment and walk at the mine site, test the issues in advance, like a day before, and then see if it's going to work or not, something like that. So yeah, look, I agree. So human element will play a different role in the future. It's not necessarily we will not have people working on it. We will have more people working on it, but in a different environment and different skill set. So that's for sure. And considering the global warming and all, I think electrification and hydrogen will be key for us to watch and observe. It's already happening. But these are the things, and blockchain, for example, will be continue to evolve in mining, and it will impact a lot more. And especially in terms of, I do feel like the 3D printing coming from manufacturing will be key for maybe mining, for the parts to be printed moving forward. I'm not sure. It might be something that might happen. And the other thing, as I said when I was trying to say metaverse, I wasn't joking. So why can't we scan the machine? When I was lucky enough to attend some of the medical big data conferences 2-3 years ago, the doctors, the surgeons can attend the surgery from the other side of the world, and then they can and do have good progress with robots. And it is, when you think about the mining, it is a lot more flexible, and it's not like that precise, which means we should be able to do it. And the asteroid mining and space mining, those are all the things that already has to be precise as medical industry. I think we should be able to articulate them into mining so you can see the benefit and in a shorter term. And it is already happening, which is, as I said, it's exciting time for people interested in the technical knowledge, technology, applications. It's all, we are in the making the history together, I think, and which is exciting for all of us.
Yeah, that's some really
Extremely.
fascinating insights. And I think what was kind of most interesting is all the stuff that you said really in many respects addresses a lot of the problems that we have now too, right? Like, going to the metaverse and being able to remotely control stuff is not, we're not just doing it for fun, but like you said, that there's a safety imperative behind it, right? And there's a predictive capability imperative behind it. And even when you talk about 3D printing, I mean, that would solve a lot of our supply chain issues that we've got at the moment too, right? So I know that everyone is really struggling for parts at the moment. So look, I know you guys are super busy. For our listeners, this team is actually their day off today, so I really appreciate you guys coming to speak to me today. I'm sure the audience will be very appreciative of it. Thank you so much for your insight, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much, Rafe. I appreciate it. It was really nice to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.